Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
That was a suggested intro from our friend Charlotte.
Apparently, we say our names.
Yeah. Charlotte does not want us to introduce ourselves because she does not believe that we are worthy of being. We're just kidding. We're the WIBs. We're back this week. And what are we talking about today, Natasha?
Well, think you know everything? The power of a good mentor and mentee. Today, we're talking all about coaching, the importance of having a mentor, the importance of being a mentor, and all the juicy bits in between.
So, mentor. Let's chat, my fellow coach.
Okay, let's start with the basics. What is coaching and what is mentoring? So, coaching is the process of supporting and guiding someone to achieve their goals and improve their overall performance. So, that is the Googled version. And I did say last time we didn't Google, but I just didn't really know how to explain it in the KISS way, keep it simple, stupid, essentially. Because coaching can be anything. Like obviously you have basketball coaches, you have sports coaches, you have fitness coaches, you have all different types. And business coaching is no different. It's just helping you support your goals and work towards them. So that's kind of how I would describe it. But I just wanted to get the Google definition to make sure I was right.
Definition out of the way. But I think it's also that person that helps keep you accountable. Like anything, whether it's sport or fitness or your business or self-development. And I think that the older I'm getting, the more I'm realizing that as much as it is a great idea to think that your workplace will be the people that will offer you all the coaching or all the mentorship in the world, and your manager or your direct report or your person that you collaborate with each day will be that person, it's not always the case. And sometimes you need that little bit of extra support. And that's why we really wanted to talk about this particular topic today, because you can't always get what you need from just the people within your network. Sometimes you need to go a little bit further.
Well, the reality is coaching can help you perform faster, better, and achieve your goals more effectively. So what I mean by that is, okay, so why not pick the brain of someone who's already done it so you don't have to make the mistakes yourself? This is the kind of thing that you can do on your own. Absolutely. You can achieve anything on your own, but wouldn't you rather do it faster and cheaper and not waste your money because someone's already made the mistakes for you?
Yeah, it's literally a life hack. Like, how do you want to get to where you want to be? And you speak to someone that's already done it and made mistakes along the way, and now you can learn from them. It's the best.
There's different types of coaching as well, even business coaching. There's like accountability. Sometimes you just need someone to just be like, hey, what were those goals we spoke about? Are you achieving them? Sometimes you need strategy. Sometimes there's certain parts of the business that you're like, oh, okay, I'm not really that good at. I'd love to upskill myself on. Coaching can be used in all different ways. And I think it's just about finding out when you're stuck and you're like, oh, what do I need? How am I going to get to the next spot? That's when you find a coach.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that it sounds like a relatively vague thing at times because you would be using it for different things, but there are some very specific benefits to general coaching and mentoring in general. So one of them would be obviously that improved performance piece. Like it will definitely be able to help you overcome your weakness, help build up your strengths, help you essentially reach your full potential.
They'll be able to see things that you can't see. So that's what you said before about the workplace. Like the workplace is amazing. And I remember when we worked together, there were things I realized my capabilities. Like I was like, I don't know how much further I can upskill Penny myself. Like you were incredible. And I was like, I don't know if there's actually anything I can really do here outside of our day-to-day. And obviously we worked really close together, but it did get to a point where I'm like, I have this immense responsibility to help grow this person as a manager. And that's how I feel as anyone in a management position should feel, is you have that responsibility to grow your team. And I was really stuck on how to do it. So I spoke to Penny and we sat down and we were like, okay, well, how are we going to grow your role? How are we going to do this? And that's when we reached out to an amazing coach named Kat. She's incredible. She runs her own business called Empirical. It's a marketing agency. She's incredible. And she came on board with us for what, a year, 2 years?
Yeah, maybe even a little bit more. But I think one thing that was really cool about that and one I'm really grateful for is that you were able to identify, okay, cool, like there's a level of upskilling there that I want to be able to offer this person on my team, because you were offering it to our team. And I think that something that's really great about that is your own self-awareness. But a lot of the times, a lot of managers are just trying to figure it out for themselves. A lot of leaders in the same way. And not everyone was and not every leader or every manager I've worked with has been as introspective or as understanding of people as you to be able to see, okay, cool, this person needs this or this person needs that. And maybe I can't offer it to them, but I know that I can find a person to be able to help get them there quicker.
I think that's why I believe in coaching so much and the idea of mentoring, because it's the reason I got into it. It's the reason I started my business is because I know that it works. And we used it when we started Snacks with Bite. That was the first thing that we did. We went out and we found a business in the US and they were doing something very similar to us. So we reached out to their, head of VP sales and their marketing teams and anyone that we could get access to at that point. And we just wanted to collate as much information as possible and use them as mentors because they've done it before. They've done it. And I honestly believe that we would not have been able to experience the growth that we did, regardless of a pandemic, regardless of anything else that happened. We were able to get access to all of their templates, like all of these awesome things that we would never have had access to. We got it. And that was purely because we reached out and we're like, hey, look, we're looking to start something very similar to you. Never going to go into your area. Like, let's just settle that straight away, do all the legalities that you need to do, all of that. But it was kind of like we need your help. We're willing to pay. Obviously, can you help us? And that helped us more than I could ever. That was incredible.
Yeah. And I think that not all coaching or mentoring has to be paid, but I do find that particularly when it comes to that business piece, I feel like it is a great thing to be able to pay for it because it just takes all the ick out of it.
Absolutely.
You're not stealing any IP. I'm paying for a service and the service is to go through it and have an example of what it's like to walk in your shoes from a business perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
So that I can understand and upskill it in my own way, in my own lane.
Yeah. No. I agree. And I think one of the things is when you're looking for that right coach or that right mentor, it's kind of like when we were chatting about it, we're like, okay, because remember the first thing you said to me was like, okay, well, where do I go? Cool. Coach. Awesome. What do I do with this information? It's one piece of advice that I got was look at who you want to be in the next, look at who you want to be in the next 5 years. Doesn't necessarily need to be the next 20 years. You don't need to be going straight for the stars and, going for, Elon Musk, should that be your path?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's call Bill Gates. We'll chat.
Yeah, let's have a chat. No, but you don't have to go that far. It's kind of who do you want to be the next 5 years? Look at the next 5 years and be like, okay, I really want to start a business. Well, let's look at somebody who started a business and who's been able to scale it and who's got that track record. I think, there's a difference between, as I said, coach and accountability partners. I think that there are a lot of coaches that can be incredible accountability partners, absolutely. But one thing when you're looking for a coach, I think it's really important is to see their track record and just to see what they've done and just see if it aligns with what you want, because you can have the best. Anyone can sell you into coaching. I have the biggest rubber arm. If someone tells me I'm going to benefit from something, 9 out of 10, I'm like, oh, let's give it a go. But your time's also equally important. So I think when you're looking for that right coach, that right mentor, I think it's about really addressing where you want to be and if that person is the type of person you want to be.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And we have some real life experience of this. Obviously, you have a very unique perspective in being a coach yourself now and being able to offer those services and I guess being able to help people upskill their business. Bit of an outperform plug here. We love it, but it is amazing and you are fantastic at it. And I really believe that this is a space that you are just going to continue to thrive in because you're made for being able to assist and help people grow. I really believe that. But I think the other side of this is when we have been out looking for it as a person that was the mentee and looking for that space, I literally did exactly that. I found some incredible women in leadership that I'm if I could have a career that looked anything remotely like that, I would be so happy and beyond. And you know what? I think the other thing is, and I want to normalize this process when you're looking for a mentor or for a coach, there might be a potential element of rejection.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
And there might be a potential element of it not being the right fit for you because I was explaining this to my husband the other day. I'm finding the right coach and being a coach or the other way around, where you're looking for that person. It's like finding a doctor or a psych or anyone. It's being able to find that person that works for you and fits with your needs and your background, your experience about where you want to be. So the self-vetting and being able to go through and see, okay, this is a person that has a level of experience that I'd like to emulate is a great way to start. It doesn't always mean that it's going to work out straight away. I had a gorgeous cringe thing happened to me where I did hit someone up to be a mentor.
Ready.
And it was a no.
Really? Did they give you a reason?
Well, yes, they did. And they were very,
it was fair.
Very sweet, very professional.
That's nice.
They were actually just going on mat leave at the time. And you feel a bit crushed. But what I did really appreciate in her feedback was she said to me, this is when I take on something like that, I take it on 110%. It's not something I want to half-ass. And
she could take your money and go. That's reality of it. She could have just been like, yeah, cool, I'll do it half-assed.
Yeah, but she's like, I'm not going to do that to you. And this is not my focus right now because I've just had a baby. This is what I need to be doing. But even though there's that level of vulnerability in putting yourself out there when you're asking this, because for the most part, not all coaches or mentors are, I guess, available and free flowing all the time where you can just have immediate access. And that's why I think the service that you're doing is fantastic.
Yeah. But I've had to learn that as well, Pen. I've had to, I've never been in a professional service before. I've always been in product. So for me, I was selling a product. Yes, I've worked in customer service where I've had to, speak to customers. Absolutely. So I've been customer facing, but I've never been client facing before. And what you said really spoke volumes to me. I believe that you need to protect your space and time. And I think that even with coaching, I will only take on people that we both kind of vibe. We both have to vibe each other. Everyone's got different personalities and I don't want anyone to change. If you're a certain personality, don't change for who you are. As long as you're a good person, you're doing everything with, a good intentions. And I don't really care about everything else. But I've learned, there's people you vibe with and there's people that you don't. And respectfully, I think it's very important for you both to acknowledge that and move on. And that's in a professional relationship as well, whether it's clients that I've worked with or not. It's not going to benefit either of us if we're, butting heads or if we're not communicating in the way that's beneficial for both of us. You find your vibe and you find those people that I've said this before and I'll say it again. When I jump on those coaching calls, I literally feel like I've just sculled a whole bottle of coffee. I am so pumped. I remember my first few, I ran back, I was just on an absolute high. And I remember running back into the room and my partner was there and I was like, oh, and I was just rattling off and he was like, he looked at me and he was like, Tash, you've got it back. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I haven't seen you like this in ages. He's like, you've got that buzz back. He's like, he was so happy for me. And he's like, every single time you leave those calls, you've got that buzz back. You're so happy. And now being in this for, I don't know, a few months now, I don't know who's counting, but I haven't lost that because I've picked really beautiful people and I want them to succeed so badly. And I want that when their success is my success, you get so pumped. You are just the happiest person alive. And that's because you protect your space.
Yeah.
Where possible. There's some situations that you can't absolutely because money's money and there's some things that some jobs you have to take on and I completely respect that. But when they are ones that are very facing, client facing, we're having to spend, an hour or 2 hours at a time with somebody, the same way you work with when you're a manager and you see a toxic employee and you feel like there's probably a time that you need to cut that, I'd strongly suggest doing the same thing for service-based businesses as well.
Yeah. And then on the flip side of it too, it's when you're a person looking for mentorship or looking for coaching, you want to make sure you have that level of connection with them. And you know what? Different doesn't necessarily mean bad. The lady that I work with at the moment as a mentor for me is an incredible woman and is just really smart, really on the ball. We couldn't be more different though. She's cool, calm, collected. I'm erratic.
Cool.
I'm cool. I'm cool. Thank you. I'm cool. But no, she is all the things that I am not, she is. She's the person that would be center herself and just would probably go for a 5K run in the morning. And I'm erratic, doing my mascara in the car, coffee at the same time, focal. It's just we're very, we
balance each other out.
But exactly. And I feel there is a lot that I'd love to emulate in terms of the way that she holds herself, but also the way that she conducts herself as a woman in leadership.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that I can learn from that space because I don't always want to be, a hot mess. I want to be hot. I don't want to be a hot mess.
It's business. Nothing wrong with being a hot mess from here and there. Chaos is always going to be a part of our lives, I feel.
True. But you know what? I'm trying to temper that a little bit. But
no, I get what you're saying. And I think having that person to – what you said then about being a woman in business, I think there's a lot of times, and we've spoken about this imposter syndrome. We've spoken about imposter syndrome and how it's something that we all deal with and it's something that, we try and find different ways to get over it. And I think having that mentor, having that coach, having that person on your team that is experienced and who has done it because, yes, your friends, your family, your workmates, they're hopefully going to be your biggest hype people, and they should be. They should be your biggest hype people.
Yeah.
But sometimes, I don't know, you can get in your own head and spiral and be like, oh, they're just saying that because they're my mate or whatever. But when you've got that coach that you're literally speaking to for professional growth, like that is the one reason that you're speaking to them about, that's when that imposter syndrome can kind of just dissipate and go into the air because you've got that person to be like, hey, this is how I feel. And they're like, no, you're completely fine. Like everything is okay.
That's such a good point of what you're saying there. And I think like that's definitely been my experience. Like when talking about like Kat specifically, who we mentioned earlier in the episode, I had a year and a bit with her. And the difference from day one to the final day, the final session I had with her. And I actually had felt at that point where I'm like, I'm ready to find a different coach, because you do. And I think that's something
should outgrow some. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Like you look ahead 5 years or whatever it is. Yeah. Whatever your journey is. But yeah, if you outgrow your coach, that's not on the coach. That's not on you. That's awesome.
That's amazing. That's a positive result for both people. And unless there's a very specific type of work that you're doing with them that you feel like you need an ongoing level of support.
Yeah.
I felt like at the end of it, I'd learned so much in terms of developing how I process things, developing like how I lead and how I run my own stuff, so that I can then execute and delegate out to a team. That was a big part of the reason why I wanted to work with her. And I really felt like at the end of it, I got a lot out of it. And I was a different and changed person for the better when we came to the conclusion of our coaching sessions. And I think that's the thing, like people a lot of the time talk about it in a very like fluffy way with like coaching and mentorship. Like it's great, but people don't actually say why. Yeah. And I think that the fact that you get that level of improved performance, yes, absolutely. But it's also, I guess, that level of resilience that you learn in yourself and that sounding board, that backing that you get independently from your own network, to touch on what you said before.
Even networks, like expanding your networks through your coaches. Yeah. Like if, people putting themselves out there, if they've already got access to a different network than you, that's a huge advantage as is. Like that's 100%. A whole network that they can then speak to, and especially if you've got a product or a service that their network can use. I never really understood the benefits of networking until I got really into it and started meeting beautiful people and we actually had a networking event today that was really, really good. And I think like, when you go to these events and you see you're part of them and you meet these beautiful people, you're kind of like, okay, that's why you do it. It's not just for your own self-benefit. It's learning from people who are in different spaces and know different things to you.
Yeah, it's you're diversifying the opportunities and the relationships that you can have. Like you're literally broadening your horizons when you look to have the right kind of coach or mentor, especially in your specific space.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, cool. So coaches, mentors, they're all good. How do you find them? What do we do? Like I know we spoke about it before and I was like, look, one of the biggest pieces of advice I'd say is, go on LinkedIn and have a look at people's journeys and see if there's any that reflect kind of where you want to go. I think that's really, really, really important. I think asking for recommendations, this is a bit of a referral type business, I'd say, where it's good to know the person or know someone who has worked with the person, purely because it's, you can sell. Unfortunately, some coaches are really good salespeople, but not necessarily good coaches. And that's something that you can kind of find out through referrals.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I think being able to ask for that recommendation, there's nothing better than having it personally validated by someone that you know. And I think that some people may not even realize that they could be a fantastic mentor or coach.
Oh, absolutely.
Unless they were tapped on the shoulder to do it. And I think I've spoken about this in an earlier episode, but one time I was asked to give advice and I had never felt like so special at that moment, but I would never have put myself out there or up there to be the person to be like, yeah, come to me for XYZ marketing advice. But I think sometimes when you look to your network for those recommendations of, do you know anyone that you want to get from the X to Y in terms of your career? I think that's a great resource that a lot of people don't pull from.
And if you're looking to become a coach or a mentor, back yourself, because you don't know what you don't know. And I think that's really important. Like, I don't know, it wasn't until I sat down with a few people and started having my discovery calls that I was just like, whoa, this is awesome. Like, because you don't realize what you do every day when you've been in a role for so long, regardless of your role. You don't need to be this, entrepreneur who's done all this random stuff. Like, you can just know what you know and be able to sell that. And I think that's really important as well. I think, what you said before, like, who's going to ask me, oh my God, access to your brain for an hour a month for a marketing manager in e-commerce would be incredible, Pen. And that's what, and even like, regardless of whether it's marketing or whether it's operations, like, think about the hacks that you can get from how much our team has learned over the past how many years, even just over the pandemic of us having to work really hard, really fast with 500 things thrown at us. That is knowledge. We've had to learn how to do things efficiently and faster. And I'm sure if you're listening here right now, there is stuff that you don't realize that people would love to have access to.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I actually I spoke about this with my auntie last night. She's a teacher, and I was explaining, like, I guess the fact that we were talking about this coaching episode and what we were wanting to do. And what she said to me, and this is really good life advice for those looking to become a mentor or a coach, is that you kind of just have to be one step ahead, because that's people are just putting one foot in front of the other, trying to learn on how to get to their destination faster. And I think that a lot of the I guess the reason why people may not go into this field is around a confidence piece or a level of imposter syndrome, or thinking, well, everyone knows that surely. But you'd be surprised. You'd be so surprised.
And it's not a bad thing. Like, I've spoken to some people where, like, they'll be like, oh, I should have known that. Or I'm like, no, you shouldn't have. Like, you're in your lane, mate. Like, you're doing your stuff. You're doing everything every day. Like, you don't need to know this stuff. You need to just know the little bits and pieces. And if I'm here to just prompt random things, never feel dumb. It's just part of the journey.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I think we know that we want to go. You can go to your network. Obviously, you can reach out on like something like LinkedIn or wherever professional network that you know someone with. But another great idea, and touching on the event that we went to today, was the joining like those professional associations or going to those networking events where you can meet people face to face and kind of vet them, feel them out. And if you feel like there is a level of connection there, that's a great sort of springboard to be able to have that talking point and then go, hey, is this something that you would be interested in? I know that for me, the coach I have now, that's how it worked.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening. We are in your ears again next Wednesday. We wish you the most beautiful week ahead. If you have any questions about coaching, obviously, I have just started my business. So
hit her up. She's amazing. I can
hit me up.
vouch.
I'm happy to chat, and especially if you are looking to be a coach or a mentor. That is something that, the reason I got into it is to be helpful and help people. So if you have any questions, just let us know. Otherwise, we shall speak to you next week.
See you then. Bye.